out to Zach, Mace, RK, and the bar. 3 for Mr. B in that old trophy case. Number 4 we're still waiting for. Well, bring on the chase. Out on the field, a mile high, Broncos win is our desire. Couple with a breakfast crew and a friend, bleed orange and blue till the bitter end. Come and join us at the DNVR. We are DNVR.
Zach, I think that song is too good for the Broncos.
It's a jam, and I don't think we saw any jamming going out there, even with 5,700 fans.
Oh, man. Look, I've got a couple takeaways here. I'll just start with this. Like, if you're trying to make, broad spectrum 30,000 foot view takes about the Broncos based on this game, it's a fool's errand. You cannot really, in my opinion, you cannot glean anything meaningful about the outlook for the Broncos about what we just saw. So I'll start there. With that being said, I am really, really disappointed in the energy from the Denver Broncos today. I thought they came out flat. The defense was flat. The offense was flat. The defense is out there making plays and not celebrating. No one's patting each other on the back. No one's happy for each other. They looked like a team that was dead in the water. And Zach, it is week 3, a week where, if you just pull one out of where, then you're right back in this thing. And the Broncos looked like a team to me that was 2-13 playing in week 17. And that is gross to me.
It is gross. And Ryan, I tweeted right before the game, the Broncos have a chance to, in 100 hours from now, they have a chance to be 2-2 going into a long week, to get a lot of players back, including potentially Drew Lock, be riding a 2-game win streak. And then we're just talking about week 5. Nothing else. It's not tank for Trevor. Those are thrown out the window. 2-game win streak. That's the way the Broncos should have approached this game. I know they were without Courtland Sutton, Von Miller, all these guys, but you know what? That's how it was. That was the reality of what the Broncos were playing with Jeff Driscoll at quarterback. They're playing at home for the first time without fans. And you're 100% right. They just did not come out. No part of this team wanted a win, including special teams, with that miscue to start the game for them. And the one play that really sticks out to me that just wraps this all in a bubble, Ryan, is the Tampa Bay Bucks near the end of the second or first half are going down the field. They're already in the Broncos red zone. They have a 3rd and 1 handed off to, I believe, Leonard Fournette. They pick up the first down easily, on a 2-yard run. But then Tampa Bay just pushes Leonard Fournette, whoever that running back was, 8 more yards. And to me, when I saw that, I said this game is over. The Broncos aren't coming back like they did last week, because if the defense wasn't fired up and ready to go like they were last week, like they were against Tennessee, then this team had absolutely no shot. When I saw that, I was just so disappointed because, man, what are you supposed to do with a backup quarterback and really no one out there playing hard?
Yeah, from a coaching perspective, from a Vic Fangio perspective, I could excuse just about any result in this game. I could excuse the Broncos getting blown out. I could excuse the offense having nothing. I could excuse a lot of different things based on the situation that they're dealing with. I cannot excuse a flat football team. I'm sorry, I just can't. It just that does not sit well with me. That this team came out in a home game and it looked like a training camp practice with no music. You know what I'm saying? How, as a coach, can you allow that? If Drew Lock was a starting quarterback, I'd put some of it on Drew, but he's not. Drew Lock isn't the quarterback, and I'm not going to look to Jeff Driscoll to rile the team up because he's just trying to make sure that he doesn't get broken in half out there. So I'm very disappointed in Vic Fangio and the rest of the coaching staff today for allowing this team to come out flat, because it was a widespread issue for my seat, and it's unacceptable.
Oh, Ryan, he had his mask on the whole time, so baby steps right there. It is totally unacceptable. And you mentioned Jeff Driscoll. We need to talk about him because you may have to straighten me out here, Ryan. Jeff Driscoll was not good. He was not awful, terrible. The reason the Broncos lost, the reason the Broncos put up 10 points. The offense was terrible. Not Jeff Driscoll. Jeff Driscoll's a part of that, but the offensive line, I went through all 5 guys. All of them were bad. And Ryan, you and I were saying, okay, we know that 2 pieces on the offensive line aren't going to be very good throughout the season. You have 2 great players in Reisner and Glasgow you can depend on. And Koenigsberg, he's going to be up and down because he's a talented rookie. I think that's how we view this offensive line for this season. All 5 of them were bad. Of course, you have Garrett Bowles with the holding. You have Elijah Wilkinson with the holding. Both of them gave up sacks. And then in the middle, Graham Glasgow was terrible. Reisner gave up a sack. Koenigsberg, for a second week in a row, was bullied in the interior of the offensive line. So the offensive line was really bad. Melvin Gordon, it didn't really look like he was getting many holes. I mean, he may be the best player on offense, and he wasn't great. He didn't do anything special like we said he needed to. And then the wide receivers, or the wide receiving core, didn't do anything special either. Fant had some big drops. Judy, he was fine, but he didn't make any big-time plays. It was disappointing on every single level, including the quarterback play. But let's not put this all on Jeff Driscoll and say, if Blake Bortles comes in next game and starts, or if Brett Rypien starts from the beginning, hey, we got a 28 points offense there.
Yeah, no, you cannot look to Jeff Driscoll and say he's, the sole reason why the team lost this game. First of all, that's not how it works when your backup quarterback goes out there. Right. The way it works is everyone else has to pick up their crap and figure it out to give him a chance. It's not his job to give you a chance. When your starting quarterback is out there, it's his job to give you a chance to win the game. When Jeff Driscoll starts the game, it's on the other side, man. And I told you before the game, if the Broncos are going to have a chance, the defense cannot give up more than 17 points. Well, they gave up 28. They gave up 17 in the first, 20 minutes of the game. And that was the case. If the defense holds up their end of the bargain, which I understand is a difficult bargain to hold, Tom Brady and all those weapons to 17 points. But if they hold him to that, then this is a game. As soon as I saw that this defense wasn't getting third down stops, they weren't getting pressure on Tom Brady, the game was over. So you can look to the offensive line. But to me, the problem with the pressure on the quarterback is threefold. One, it's on the offensive line for just not doing a better job at their job. Two, it's on Jeff Driscoll for not being able to check anything. There's a play where they're trying to go play action, and I think they had Noah Fant lined up wide, and he's going to run a little, post or a slant. They were going to go play action, quick game to him. And you can see the nickel creeping in, and Jeff Driscoll just ignores it. The offensive line doesn't touch the guy. He gets a square hit that almost ends up in an interception. And it's just like, dude, you got to open your eyes out there and figure something out, identify what's coming, and check away from it. The other person is Pat Shurmur. I mean, what are you doing, man? Like, how do you continue to call these long developing plays when your quarterback can't be protected for more than a second and a half? You got to call some quick game. You got to call some screens, not bubble screens and tunnel screens. I'm talking about running back screens. You got to call, the little drag to Jerry Jeudy, which actually worked once and it was open another time, but it was missed by Driscoll. Come on, like there you know what the other team is doing. They're doing it over and over and over again. You gotta change your game plan entirely. And I actually think they did when they brought in Brett Rypien, and that's why it looks so much better than what you saw with Driscoll for most of the game.
And if Driscoll can't do that, what you're asking him to do, then put Brett Rypien in the second quarter if you were going to make that exchange. So if that's all on Brett, or if that's all on Jeff, then eventually it does fall to the coaching staff for not making changes. And you're right, Ryan, the play calling did no one any favors today. What happened, Vic? You said earlier in the week that this offense was very capable of doing RPOs, and read options. I didn't see one of those in this game. And the Broncos' first down of the game came off Jeff Driscoll's legs. Why not do it again? That worked. About nothing else worked, especially in the first 3 possessions. You had in the second and third possession, I think you combined for 1 total yard, 0 first downs. The very first possession of the game, you got 1 first down from Jeff Driscoll running. So why not do that again? I think that's just too hard. And Ryan, during this game, I just kept thinking over and over to myself that maybe the Broncos honestly just need to take a step back, go to the drawing board, start with the basics, because they may be way overthinking everything right now, because what I saw from Jeff Driscoll out there was stuff that continued to not work, and they kept calling the same plays. You're going to lose to any team if you do that. So on every single level, this was a terrible output by the offense. And now, Ryan, you enter a short week where you play the Jets, who looked worse than you today. They looked terrible, maybe as bad as you. And Vic Fangio coming out about 5 minutes ago saying they're not sure who their quarterback is. They'll make a decision soon. That, to me, tells me that a change could very well be on the way. I didn't think Jeff Driscoll – I thought if Jeff Driscoll played as bad as I could imagine, which is probably even worse than he played today, I still didn't think they could make a quarterback change this week, because you're going on the road. You're going across town on a short week. I didn't think a change of quarterback could be made, and it appears that they may be making one.
Yeah. Zach, I have a lot of takes on everything you just said. First of all, the fact that we're already talking about another starting quarterback is like we don't know who the starting quarterback is. That's comical to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's start here with Brett Rypien, who did something in this game that I might be being too harsh here on Jeff Driscoll. I don't think I saw Jeff Driscoll do this once. Brett Rypien was in the shotgun. He surveyed the defense. He saw what they were doing. He went up. He checked the protection. I'm not joking, Zach. It's the one time all game I got out of my seat. I was like, let's go. That's how you play quarterback.
A check at the offensive line is what got you out of your seat.
That got me fired up, Zach, because this team cannot survive without that. Matt McChesney did, a breakdown of 4 different plays last week where they did not check the protection. One of them was Drew Lock, and he got hurt on it. They did not check the protection properly, and it resulted in bad things for the Broncos. Brett, a lot of people don't know this. Drew Lock will tell you he learned, and this might be overstating it a little bit, but for lack of a better way of saying this, he learned as much from Brett Rypien as he did from Rich Gangarello and T.C. McCartney last year. Not to take away from what those guys did. Drew and Brett just had a really good connection, and he really understood things the way that Brett was seeing it through his eyes. Brett Rypien is an extremely successful college quarterback who was fantastic at Boise State, won a ton of games. He gets the quarterback position. He's just physically limited. It's the reason why he's not, a starting quarterback for somewhere right now.
I feel you, Brett.
Yeah, but with that in mind, I think this team, if I'm not kidding, if they want to have a chance at beating the Jets, they need to start Brett Rypien. Because with Jeff Driscoll on the field, beating the Broncos is extremely easy. I told you this was going to happen before the week, Zach. They packed the box, and we set the over-under at 50 rushing yards for Melvin Gordon. I told you he was going under. He had 8 carries for 26 yards. There's nothing you can do when the defense is saying, like, we are not going to let you run the ball. Do whatever the hell else you want.
And because when they say we're not going to let you run the ball, it also means if you decide to throw the ball, well, we're going to have pressure in your face left and right. And that's exactly what the Bucs had this entire game. It was so easy to stop this Broncos offense. And you're right, Ryan, there is no reason that a professional NFL coach, no matter if they're coaching for an undefeated team or they're coaching for the 0-3 Jets, should look at what Tampa Bay did and say, if Jeff Driscoll's starting, we are blitzing every single time. And that's kind of when it maybe seemed like the Broncos were getting back into it at times, is when Tampa Bay said, you know what, we're going to try something else. Just bring 4 guys. And then the Broncos were able to move the ball. Right when Tampa Bay said, okay, no, we're done with this. We're bringing pressure. It was over. It was game over. And that's on everyone. It's on the quarterback. It's on the play caller. And it's, of course, still on the offensive line for just doing absolutely nothing against that. Man, again, I thought that there should be no change at quarterback, no matter what happened in this game. But it was worse than I could have thought. I think you got to make a change. In 100 hours, you're starting another game. The clock's ticking.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's where I come from on starting Brett Rypien. And let's not forget there's another person in this mix, which is, of course, Blake Bortles. I almost called him Blaine Gabbert. What's the difference? I think that your only chance of success on offense is quick game passing. And it's clear that Jeff Driscoll is just not cut out for quick game passing. You can even just tell by the way that he throws the ball versus the way that Brett Rypien throws the ball. You know, Brett has a quick release. He sees the field pretty clearly, and he's just trying to get it to the first person that's open. He doesn't necessarily have a big enough arm to try and, uncork it deep down the field. And I think if you're going to beat the Jets, it's going to have to be with just paper cuts. Slowly but surely just chopping your way down the field. So, look, if they start Jeff Driscoll, the Jets are the laughing stock of the NFL right now.
Yeah.
All eyes are on them. In the same way that East Coast bias, can sometimes allow you to not get credit when you're good. Right. It's also, no one's noticed how bad the Broncos look right now because they're too focused on the Jets and the Giants and all these other places. If the Broncos go on Thursday Night Football with Jeff Driscoll, they will get beat. And they will become the laughing stock of the NFL.
Ryan, we said earlier this week, who's the worst team in the NFL? And we all said the Jets. And now you have a tough task. And we knew it was going to be a tough task, no matter who was at quarterback, because a short week, you're going on the road. And now it's made even more difficult by likely a quarterback change coming. And Ryan, if there is no quarterback change, how bad is that still? I mean, you bench the guy just to bring him back. And you talk about Brett Rypien having that quick release, being able to kind of pick a defense apart as he goes down the field. I mean, that's what Tom Brady did to the Broncos today. They tried a couple shots. They hit one to Scotty Miller. But besides that, that's not how they beat the Broncos. It was just slicing and dicing, and you can absolutely do that. Tom Brady's done that throughout most of his career, in fact. So you can do that. And look, at the 8 passes that Brett Rypien was successful in today, they were pretty much all short guys, and they moved down the field quick. It's not like it takes forever to score in that. The one time he tried to go deep, it turned out to be a pick. Ball still didn't get
the long pass to Jerry Jeudy.
That's true. That's true. But maybe you say, Brett, you're not throwing the ball more than 12 yards downfield. Keep it as simple as that. And on the flip side, I mean, you talk about Brett having this quick release and just sharp. If you start Blake Bortles this week, he has the opposite of a quick release. And Ryan, this may be the most damning thing that I've seen happen since Peyton Manning left at the Broncos quarterback position. If you start Blake Bortles, he will be starting a game 1 week after he had his very first practice with the team. That is unthinkable. That is so crazy, and it very well could go that way because John Elway told Broncos.com on Friday that they signed Blake Bortles, that in case anything happened to Jeff Driscoll, they had someone with starting experience that was ready to step up. He didn't point to the quarterback that's been on this roster for over a year now, and Brett Rypien. He jumped straight to Blake Bortles. Now, maybe he forgot about Brett Rypien, which isn't good either. But to me, that says if there's a new starting quarterback, the guy that calls the shots in this building has pretty much already said it's going to be Blake Bortles.
You know, when I think about why the Broncos came out flat today, a part of me thinks like they watched Jeff Driscoll in practice all week. And we've seen Jeff Driscoll in practice. It's not any better than it looked out on the field today. And I'm not trying to pile on Jeff Driscoll, but
that's true.
You look at some of the body languages. Remember Noah Fant open on an over route and Jeff Driscoll just airmails him. And I just looked at the look in Noah Fant's face, and it was just like, oh my God, man. Like I was wide open, and so I think that might be one of the reasons why Vic Fangio was saying they don't know who their starting quarterback is yet, because I think there's a little bit of momentum there with Brett Rypien. And I know, you said when he tried to push it down the field is when he threw the interception. I just think that it was fourth down. He knew he had to do something, so he just let it fly. It's better than, taking a sack, looking at you, Jeff Driscoll, last week. So I think that he was just trying to make a play there. I think that they maybe think they can capture a little bit more excitement with Brett Rypien. I know that Brett Rypien's a good practice player. I know that he can make the reads. I know that, he's kind of what you're looking for in a backup quarterback, to just do the easy stuff well. I don't know. I think that I truly believe they have a better chance of winning on Thursday Night Football with Brett Rypien than they do with Jeff Driscoll.
I think so too. And I also think they have a better chance of winning with Brett Rypien over Blake Bortles. I don't think that's what happens. My guess right now is that it is Blake Bortles starting at quarterback for the Denver Broncos on Thursday night. And I just can't believe I'm saying it. And here's another thing, just why you shouldn't do that and why it is so damning is he would get a total of 1 practice with the first team offense. That would be on Tuesday. The team does not practice tomorrow, and they'll have like a walkthrough on Wednesday. So 1.5 practices. That Tuesday practice is not going to be a full practice either. So Blake Bortles, if he starts for the Broncos on Thursday, will have 0 full practices before going out and starting a game for the Broncos team.
I don't think that's happening. There's no way that happens.
I can't, because of just how crazy and bad that situation is.
Yeah, I don't think that happens. But I mean, it's just crazy, the carousel. We're in week 3, Zach, and you've already seen 3 quarterbacks under center for the Denver Broncos this season. How crazy is that? I don't know how many years in a row that is now, but it happened last year. You had Joe Flacco, Brandon Allen, Drew Lock. The year before that, you had Case Keenum. Did he start? I think he played through the whole season.
He did.
Okay, and then the year before that, you had Trevor Siemian, Brock Osweiler. Was there another one in there?
Paxton. Yeah.
Sheesh.
Wow. So that is 3 out of 4 years you've had 3 quarterbacks start. 3 different quarterbacks play. Holy smokes. That right there, that's all you need to know.
Yeah, absolutely. On Vic Fangio, we haven't talked enough, in my opinion, about the defense. This defense is not good on third downs, and that is very bad.
Very bad. Very, very bad. And it doesn't seem like the defense really does anything to throw a team off, starting with scheme. And then the players aren't able to do anything either. I mean, it just seems like Tom is able to just pick this team apart, and you got to be throwing some different looks at him. He's Tom Brady, right? I mean, if you're going to do that, you just know that you're going to be beat. And then obviously you just have no execution by the defense. And Ryan, you have 2 sacks on the game. Neither of them felt very meaningful. And you have 0 turnovers. This defense is supposed to be elite. Now, I will give them a break because they don't have Von Miller. I will give them a break because they don't have AJ Boye. But you still got to do something. You still got to be a top 10 defense with what you have out there, and with Vic Fangio being the head coach of this team. You got to be a top 10 defense. The top 10 defense is at least 1 turnover. I mean, and the Broncos aren't doing that. There's absolutely no plays to be made. And Ryan, plays that are made are sacks. They're turnovers. They're stopping a team on third down, and you just don't see that at all from this team.
No, you don't. And it's bad, man. I mean, Vic Fangio was brought here for one reason. I mean, really, just one reason. Make the defense great. Make this defense elite is honestly what they wanted. They wanted that defense that, he had in Chicago that last year when they were just absolutely dominant. And the Broncos haven't even sniffed that. Like, I don't even know if they've had a dominant. I mean, I guess you had the shutout of the Titans last year, the Marcus Mariota Titans.
Right.
That was a dominant performance. They've had a couple, like, this defense, they don't smother. They don't create pressure easily. They don't create turnovers. It just feels like they just, they want to bend, don't break at all times. And that's not elite. It's not even close.
No, it's not. It's not at all. And Ryan, I guess it's time to throw some positivity in here and give our DraftKings Sportsbook king of the game, because there was one bright spot to me on the defensive side of the ball, Ryan, and that was Shelby Harris. We talked about how this team didn't play with heart. There was one guy to me that came out today and had heart and just played like his hair was on fire, and that was Shelby Harris. 2 sacks, the only sacks on Tom Brady, the only plays to be made on Tom Brady, 2 tackles for a loss, 4 quarterback hits, a couple batted balls at the line of scrimmage. Shelby Harris was really the only guy that I look at in this game and say, yeah, he had a good game.
Yeah, and the one thing that's not on the graphic here is 2 pass breakups, which, is the Shelby Harris special. He had a fantastic game. It's, he deserves all the credit in the world. He did look like he had some energy out there. He looked excited. He looked like he was having fun. And it was him. And Liz, the weird thing is, like, do you remember Alexander Johnson making a play in this game?
No.
How does that happen? He's supposed to be the energy guy of the defense.
Right. Yep.
He was nowhere.
And in fact, the one play that I'm thinking of with Alexander Johnson is a play where, was it Ojemudia? Chris Godwin, I think, caught the ball, went down to the ground, and then he gets up, and you have Ojemudia, I believe, and Alexander Johnson right there. They're not touching him. And Ryan, that's just another example of just not really having any heart in this game. You got to touch a guy. Come on. It just seemed like the defense, not only did they not have energy, they just weren't checked into the game. I mean, did they view this game kind of the way I viewed it? They viewed it as it was Jeff Driscoll going up against Tom Brady. Who would give anyone a chance there? And to me, it seems like the Broncos played that way.
Yeah. It's just shocking to me. I don't know how a football team, you get 16 cracks at this. How do you come out flat? I don't know. But anyways, credit to Shelby Harris, the DraftKings king of the game, and shout out to DraftKings. When you go to DraftKings Sportsbook, use that code DNVR to get a sign-up bonus up to $1,000. It's a hell of a deal, and you'll have a hell of a time playing on DraftKings Sportsbook. Okay. Is there anyone else that you think deserves? I'm not giving out helmet stickers. A pat on the back.
No, and you can't start with any of the units. So you can't start with the coaches. You can't start with defense, offense, or special teams. I mean, what a way to open up the game for the Broncos, just with a safety. Hey, the Broncos had no. I guess that wasn't a safety. The Broncos had a safety and a punt, a blocked punt. I don't know.
Stuff that happens to bad football teams.
Yes, and your quarterback gets sacked tons of times. You don't get sacks. I mean, if we're gonna do this, we can give it to a former Bronco, Shaq Barrett. He came out and had the game that you would write in a story, right?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, he was awesome. I mean, look, I love Shaq. I know Shaq the person, so I'm not gonna say he did, but he definitely. It's not Bradley Chubb's fault that he's not a Bronco, because he mocked Brad,
Yeah.
and it's like, what? Why are you going after Bradley? Do something towards John Elway. Like Bradley just got drafted and showed up, and is doing his best, but it's not. Why are you going after him?
My guess is that was his way of saying you picked the wrong guy. I can do that dance too, but yeah, that was pretty savage by Shaq, of course, coming in here wearing number 58 after Von Miller.
Yeah, man, this defense misses Von Miller. Again, I don't know if even Von would have let that happen today with the energy. How does a defense not have energy? I can't get past this. That's like the first step of going on the field when you're a defense.
Ryan, I kid you not. You asked the question, did anyone stand out? Chicolo may have been that guy that stuck out before. Of course, he got hurt. The only, one of the only bright spots on the team gets hurt. Of course, that's why 2020 will go for the Broncos. We haven't seen him in person because, with COVID, we're not really allowed to. when they showed a dude with long hair sticking out, I squeegeed the eyes a little bit and said, was he wearing orange or was he wearing that putrid on the other side?
Putrid.
Wow. Welcome to the team, 91.
Yeah, welcome back, Jordan Taylor, sunshine. Everyone in Broncos country said, "Who the hell is that?" when that happened. I know it for a fact.
Yep.
Good for him. He made a nice play. I will say, I thought Jerry Jeudy had a nice game. You don't know how impactful he could have been if there was, protection and a decent quarterback back there. But he converted all of his catches. He made some tough contested catches. I know he was open on more times than he got the ball. And it feels like, right now, which this is fine, for what he is as a player, for being a rookie in his third game, it feels like he just prints out 5 catches for 55 yards every week. Like, yep. And you obviously want much more from him in the future, but 55 yards a week will get you damn near 1,000 yards on the season. Yeah. So he's been consistent, I think, so far, aside from the drops, which he did not have any today. I thought it was a performance that he can continue to build upon.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a performance that will go underlooked. So I'm happy that you pointed it out, Ryan. But he led the team in catches with 5. He led the team in yards with 55. And you're right. If this is the best game Jerry Jeudy's going to have, well, that's bad. Well, this is not the best game that he's going to have. This is kind of just the average that he's going to have, kind of the worst. You can count on him for 5 for 50. And when he does that, when a quarterback is changed throughout the game, when nothing's going right, you are encouraged with where this went. And the no drops thing, I think, is huge. And not for anyone else, but just for him to say, okay, I finally calmed down. I let the ball come to me, and good things happen. You got to continue to count on him to be the Broncos' number 1 receiver. And that's no matter what quarterback is playing and Pat Shermer calling the plays. You got to start off by just getting him the ball quick. It's got to be the Jeudy and Fant show. I know Fant had drops today, but Ryan, if you want to beat any team, your playmakers are going to have to make plays, and that's Jeudy and Fant. Tim Patrick, good job on the touchdown. It was a nice route. Tim Patrick's not winning the Broncos any games, and if you're starting Blake Bortles, Brett Rypien, Jeff Driscoll, I don't care who it is until Drew Lock is back, you got to get the ball to those 2 playmakers.
Yeah, and KJ Hamler as well, not nearly as impactful today. I think he did have a drop, but you have to get them the ball before you're on your butt, and that's really what this comes down to. And I think Brett Rypien has the ability to do that. If there's one thing Jerry Jeudy does really well, it's get open quick. There's one thing Brett Rypien.
I think we lost Ryan there for a second, but yeah, it's exactly right. You've got to get the ball out quick to Jerry Jeudy, to KJ Hamler. Ryan, oh my gosh, we see one time where Jeudy goes in motion, and Jeff Driscoll was screaming at Jeudy to go in motion. And then once he finally got him in motion, there was just no way that he was going to get him the ball. I think there needs to be so many more design plays to Jeudy, to Fant, to Hamler, regardless of who the quarterback is, because what you need to do is just get the ball out quick. Maybe have 1 read on a play, or you have 2 reads. The first read is to either Fant, Jeudy, Melvin Gordon out of the backfield, or Hamler. The second read is just an easy dump down to someone else and then run and take off. And if it's Driscoll, that would have been in my playbook this week, and clearly that wasn't in their playbook. So if it's Bortles or Rypien, I just don't see quarterback runs being in their playbook. Ryan, we got you?
You got me?
Yeah, we got you.
We got it.
You're a little quiet, though.
Okay, give me a sec here. While we're working on my audio, let's bring in Andrew Mason. I got Mace. Good to see you, my guy. How are you? Oh, we can't hear Mace.
I'm doing better than the Broncos right now. It's. Oh, okay. Hi. Okay, you got me now? It's like this is a commercial. Can you hear me now? All right. Well, you guys saw it on television, of course.
Now we can hear you.
Yeah, it's the connection maybe is as shaky as the Broncos offense, and has about the same ability to to succeed as Jeff Driscoll does in terms of identifying pre-snap blitzes. I mean, if we learn anything today, I mean, you guys have probably gone over this. I think it's just too big for Jeff Driscoll. It's just too big for him. The fact that you could put Brett Rypien out there and he could do a lot better job of identifying pre-snap blitzes, getting everybody set up than Jeff Driscoll could. And Driscoll's a guy who's been in the league for 4 years. It just tells you put your faith in the wrong guy when you sign him to be your backup.
Yeah, I think it's very clear that Jeff Driscoll is just certainly not the guy. But Mace, Ryan and I talked about this a little bit earlier in the show. What do you do? Do you start Jeff Driscoll against the Jets on Thursday? That doesn't necessarily seem like a great idea. Do you start Brett Rypien against the Jets? That may be the best thing for them to do, but maybe the least likely for the Broncos to do. Or do you start Blake Bortles, who would be starting 1 week after making his first practice with the Broncos?
Yeah, I doubt you start Blake Bortles because he's just not ready in terms of learning the offense. Realistically, for Blake Bortles, starting him, you'd probably be talking about the Patriots game. Personally, I would go with Brett Rypien just to see what he's got, just to use the game to find out and say, okay, yeah, it wasn't all good on that last drive, and the Bucs were playing back at times on that drive because they were playing with an 18-point lead. But just to see what he has, I think part of it is you've seen Driscoll over the last few years as well. I thought Rypien showed enough to at least get a look, and I know this could create the crazy scenario of literally starting 4 different quarterbacks in 4 games, but at this point, what were you clinging to? Because the Jets, even though they don't have the same level of pass rushers that the Bucs do, they're going to attack Jeff Driscoll and they're going to try to confuse him with pre-snap looks, with corner blitz looks. They're going to try to confuse him just like the Bucs did if Driscoll is out there on Thursday night. And the fact that Vic Fangio cited the inability to get the offense in the right protections when he talked about putting Brett Rypien in, I think said an awful lot about how he felt about Jeff Driscoll today.
It's very simple to me. You guys have me now? Are we good?
We got you.
Okay. It's very simple to me.
I got you. We got you.
2 different hypotheticals for you. One, who would you rather prepare for if you're the Jets defense? Would you rather prepare for Jeff Driscoll or would you rather prepare for Brett Rypien?
It's easy. You'd rather prepare for Jeff Driscoll.
Yeah, but you've got film. You got a lot of film on Jeff Driscoll. You've got 1 series on Brett Rypien of film. 1 series.
Yeah, so that's obvious. And we always say,
Driscoll, you've got 3 years of film.
Do what your opponent doesn't want you to do. Do what your opponent doesn't want you to do. And here's the other thing that scares me. Who would you rather prepare for right now? Jeff Driscoll or Sam Darnold? Wait, what? You'd rather prepare for Jeff Driscoll? What I'm saying is, if you start Jeff Driscoll in that game, you have a very good. You are exposing yourself to losing to the Jet. I mean, that offense. Preparing for Jeff Driscoll is like the easiest thing. I think any defensive coordinator in the NFL right now would say, "Okay, we pack the box, we send blitzes, we win the game." You have to throw something else. You have to throw something else at the Jets if you are trying to win. Hey, if you're ready to pack it in, then go ahead and keep rolling out Driscoll. But you're gonna make it. You're gonna make it easy on any team that you put that offense out there against. What does this say about the New York Jets that the Broncos open up as a 2-point favorite going on the road on a short week, and you don't know who your starting quarterback is? Oh, and you're an 0-3 team too. I mean, yikes, it's bad out there in New York. Now, when I say that, man, lot rides on this game on Thursday night just to show exactly where the Denver Broncos are. It's pretty clear that the Jets are the laughing stock of the NFL right now, like you mentioned earlier, Ryan. If you lose to them, what does that make you? You're the 0-4 laughing stock. That's why you do have to put the quarterback out to give you the best shot.
Well, the big difference between the two teams is even though it was a bad game for the Broncos, I don't think the Broncos have quit on Vic Fangio. It looks like the Jets have quit on Adam Gase. And, oh, by the way, they're one of the few teams that is averaging fewer points per game than the Broncos right now, who are languishing at 15 points per game through 3 weeks. Which, by the way, even worse than their pace was last year.
So, Mason, I have a quick question for you surrounding that. You said the Broncos haven't quit on Vic, and Ryan and I haven't made the argument that they have. But Jared Miller says, honestly, coming out flat means the players have no respect for the coaching staff, which means it's time for new coaches. So, Mace, Ryan and I already talked about how the Broncos didn't have energy in this game, really in any phase of the game. So why do you say that the Broncos haven't quit on Vic and the coaching staff?
Well, end of the first half, even though they were down by 3 scores, coming out fighting, getting that drive, and also you look at a lot of what went wrong, and the energy could have been higher, but at the same time, you have somebody at quarterback who couldn't necessarily bring that energy that you were expecting. I mean, certainly your plan was to have Drew Lock out there, bringing a little energy, a little verve, a little fire. You don't have that right now. I'd be more concerned if it was looking as bad as it did with the Jets. Now, that being said, Shelby Harris talked last week, and he talked about needing to change the culture. Something has set in that is bigger than Vic Fangio, because it goes back to before he was on the job, about the Broncos either losing close games or just having games where they're just bombed from the start like this. It's, unfortunately, as frustrating as these losses are, I feel like we've seen every time they happen, we've seen the script in some way, shape, or form from some point in the previous 3 seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Mace, I want to clear the floor for you here, because apparently you're now beefing on Twitter with Nick Wright. What's up with this?
I'm not beefing. I think maybe he recalled my comment about how a walrus with dysentery could crap a better prediction than picking the Broncos to go 3-13, and I think that's why he's coming after me a little bit. And all I said, I don't know what he said because I muted him, but my response was, "Hey, last I checked, the season's still 16 games."
Yeah, it's funny. Anyone who's trying to flex on their argument that the Broncos are going to be bad right now is clearly not paying attention. But we've always known that Nick Wright is not paying attention to anything that's going on really anywhere. If you're jumping around doing jumping jacks right now saying, I told you the Broncos weren't very good. The Broncos without Von Miller, AJ Boye, Phillip Lindsay, Drew Lock, Cortland Sutton, yes, everyone in the world would have said that team is not very good.
And to be honest with you, with all respect to Shannon Sharp, who works over there, I don't want to give FS1 any oxygen. I mean, this is the network of Skip Bayless and Colin Cowherd. I mean, I feel like their existence is only centered around trying to rile people up, trying to say the most absurd things. I mean, if it weren't for social media, I would not be aware of anything being said on FS1 because I never watch. I'm not going to waste my time with that crap.
Yeah. No, you're completely right. I found it hilarious that of all people, he picked you. Literally every single person in Broncos country.
I had the most creative. I think I had the most creative insult. That's the only reason why.
So guys, since we're talking 3-13, like Nick Wright, the genius Nick Wright, who could predict injuries like no one else could. Since you mentioned 3-13, if the Broncos lose on Thursday night, then is 3-13 not just realistic, but is that kind of where the Broncos are heading?
Yes. I'm laughing at the commenter there, but to me, we did our roundtable and we re-predicted. To me, it all comes down to Drew. However many games Drew Lock starts, I'm going to say the Broncos win around half of those games. And so maybe they're 1 over 500 in those games. Maybe they're 1 under 500. Maybe they are 500 in those games. So it just depends on that to me. And even if Drew Lock is out the entirety of the 6-week timetable, which would get us to the bye week, which would give him 8 starts on the other side, I still think the Broncos are probably going to win 4 of those games in the last 8 with Drew Lock. So no, I don't think 3-13 is that close to a reality, but it all just depends on Drew. And honestly, you go 0-4 with a loss against the Jets, it may change the way the Broncos handle Drew. And so is 3-13 a possibility when you start 0-4? Absolutely, but I just don't think the Broncos are going to lose that many games with Drew Lock as their quarterback. And Phillip Lindsay's coming back too. AJ Boye will be back. Right now in the world of suck, it sure seems like nothing is ever getting better. But these guys, there are guys coming back from injuries. The roster should continue to get better from here. So it does seem real dark right now. But you get Drew Lock back, you get AJ Boye back, you get Phillip Lindsay back. Things start to feel a little bit better. And I do think the Broncos will win around half of their games with Drew Lock starting at quarterback.
I'm glad you mentioned AJ Boye because they have missed him badly the last 2 weeks. And I would even argue that the outcome of the Steelers game is flipped and the Broncos win, even with Drew Lock being hurt, if AJ Boye is out there for that game. Getting him back is really going to help this team out. And I mean, obviously, if you lose to the Jets, that's a loss against a team that is one of the slow pokes in the NFL race right now. But you look at the schedule, you have the Jets, you have the Dolphins, the Falcons can't seem to hold on to a lead with super glue right now. You play the Chargers twice, and the Chargers just lost the Panthers and barely beat the Bengals in week 1 and stayed with the Chiefs, I think primarily because the Chiefs didn't have any film on Justin Herbert. So you have the Panthers. And so what I'm saying is that you look at the schedule and there are basically 6 games on it where the Broncos have a decent shot of winning. I find it hard to believe that the Broncos wouldn't win at least 4 of those in all likelihood. And this is like a worst case scenario with the guys that they have coming back. So, I mean, could they have a bad season? Yeah, but I think that bad season is like the 4-12, 5-11 type of year.
Yeah, and that's a bad season, as we all certainly know a little too well here in Broncos country with that 5-11.
Yeah. It's not going to get you the number 1 pick, though. That's the thing, and it probably doesn't even leave you in the Justin Fields conversation either.
I think this gave us a little idea of where the Broncos were at. Not really, though, just because of how bad everyone played. Thursday night, if you lose to the Jets, like we said, the laughingstock of the NFL, that's rough. Then you will get Drew Lock back. But, Ryan, I do think if you lose Friday, or on Thursday, like you said, that may delay Drew Lock's return. Starting 0-4, the Broncos know even a hot start, it's pretty much impossible to come back from 0-4. So we'll see. And we'll see who the Broncos starting quarterback is. One of the things that I got from the Vic Fangio press conference that everyone saw today was just everywhere on this football team needs to improve. You don't know who the starting quarterback is. He said the offensive line has to get a lot better, which we knew. He said the pass rush has to get a lot better, which we knew. He pretty much said the awareness on defense has to get better. He said the defense should have known that quick touchdown pass to Mike Evans was coming, and they didn't react toward it at all. So really, everything went wrong today outside of Shelby Harris.
Mace, what else did we learn from the press conferences? Anything that we need to know from any of the players speaking?
I mean, you had Brett Rypien talking about how there was a little bit of a difference in the speed of this compared to what he dealt with in the preseason last year. But Rypien kind of gave the answers you expected. And one thing I'll say for Rypien in his defense here is that this is somebody who clearly looked prepared to go out there and run the offense, and being able to have that level of preparation when you're not getting any looks and you were on that practice squad earlier this season, it says a lot for him as a professional, and I think that's positive. But the thing is, guys, I mean, you have players talking about more effort. They got to tighten things up, this and that. They don't seem, but nobody seems to have any clear answers right now, and that's the thing that's sort of alarming here. I mean, guys are definitely upset, but The answers are a little bit vague, and I think part of the reason is that there's just so much that is askew right now. You can't point to any one thing. I mean, you guys mentioned Noah Fant's drops earlier. I mean, Noah Fant's somebody that is one of the more reliable aspects of your offense, one of the guys who's helping you move the ball when you are to move the ball, and yet clearly he had a bad day. So when you have things that you expect to work that aren't working, what can you lean on? I mean, what's the bread and butter of the Broncos right now? They don't have anything that's bread and butter, that when everything else is failing, they can rely on that. There's nothing the Broncos can completely rely on right now when everything else is going askew.
One of those things that the Broncos typically could say they could rely on is their safeties. And we've seen very inconsistent play from their safeties as a collective group, including today. Not a very good performance from those guys today. And so that just points to your point, Mace. You know, the one thing you thought you could rely on, that good safety group, the safeties that you're paying the most money in the NFL for, don't come through. But Mace, you said one thing that the players said today that just infuriates me and should infuriate everyone. You said the players mentioned that they could up their effort level. You get to choose that. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. It doesn't matter who's at quarterback for you. You get to choose that. And Mace, that's something that Ryan and I opened the show with, was talking about that. That is the one thing you control. And to me, I can give credit to one person for really coming out, flying with energy. And like we've talked about, that was our DraftKings Sportsbook King of the Game, Shelby Harris. No one else can I point to and say that guy was flying around all game.
Yeah, that's a real good point. But sometimes the reason you say things like that is if you don't have any other answers, you focus on that and say, okay, well, maybe we could give a little more, but other things are going wrong.